Want to welcome you all to our monthly department meeting. And one of the things we're starting this year is, thank you, is rotating among the executive leadership team and senior leaders just to give you some updates and have some different faces up here for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Liz, who you all have met, is our communications manager. And she'll be monitoring the questions, or Lisa, you're monitoring the questions till the end of each one. So this one's going to focus on all the communication resources. One of the things that I learned from our strategic planning is the leadership of this campus is shockingly unaware of a lot of the amazing stuff we do. So we need to fix that. And you can be too humble, and I think that's one of those times. We do a lot of things that people don't recognize and don't even know that we're doing that are pretty amazing. And then special thanks to Megan Lane for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over next to Michael for budget updates. Oh, yeah. Oh, I also want to welcome Dr. Jerica Berg, who's stand up, wave. She has joined our department as the new director of Accords Center. And is Deborah Paramedina here? No, Deborah's not here. So that's the other person. When she comes, we'll introduce her too. Welcome, Jerica. Delighted to have you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to assume we're live on Zoom, right? They can hear us all right. Let us know otherwise, and we'll correct it. My name is Michael Cahill, the DFA for the department. If I haven't gotten a chance to meet you, and if I haven't gotten a chance to meet you, right next door to Myra over in AO1, would love to have you come by and say hi. I was asked to give an update, general update on the budget for the department, and so we'll get into that. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Would like to, start this off with a bit of a Valentine, little geared towards our researchers. Roses are red, violets are blue. Life isn't fair. Yours truly, Reviewer 2. A happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And nothing says love like dollars, like money. So let's touch on the budget here. So what I want to start off with is just a high level look at what makes up the department's budget. How do we get dollars in the door, and how our dollars are going out the door? So for example, clinical income is one of the key pieces that we have from a funding the department standpoint. All right, so that goes into making up the inflows to the department. Grants are a key piece to what comes into the department. And I would like to point out that these are, I'm keeping dollars, cents, and pennies off here, but these are actually relative to the amount that's being brought in, the size of the dots up here. So it goes in again to making up what comes into the department. UCHA support is one of those pieces. Primary care compensation plan from CU Med is one of those pieces. GA and state funding. Notice we're not quite at Pluto, but we're getting there. UPL dollars. Other. Promise you it did something there. So all those go in, again, at a high level, this is what goes into making up how we bring funding into the department. And we bring funding into the department because there's dollars going out. So what makes up our expenses? We already know our personnel are the sun around which we all orbit. And it's no surprise that that is the size of the sun in this exercise here. So personnel. go into making up our expenses, allocations and assessments going out, and our operating expenses. So if you're looking closely, and I'm sure you are, let me zoom in on this for you here a bit. There is a sliver of leftover green up there. And it is a sliver. And this is what's important in terms of ensuring the department's growth, our initiatives, and our sustainability. That sliver starts to disappear in terms of for small pieces of in terms of what's coming in or what we're sending out. So that's why, I mean, it's absolutely vital. We have to be purposeful in the stewardship of our resources. Okay. So our leaders are in process of addressing that now. So we're in budget season. For some of us, it can be argued budget season is 14 months a year. But for everyone in the department, we're neck deep in the budget season. So our leaders are working together in determining what's going to make up the budget. And it comes in with the purpose or with this in mind. So what's happening right now, our leaders are working together, reviewing and submitting proposals for programmatic and mission budgets for fiscal year 25. And as a reminder, just from a timing standpoint, our fiscal year is July through June, and it's numbered with the year in which it's ending. So fiscal year 25 starts July 1 of this year, this calendar year, and goes through June 30th of 2025. So at the end of this month is a kickoff of 4 mornings of presentations from our mission and program leaders to our executive leadership team and with our executive leadership team. And so again, those are the proposals for what is being said is needed to sustain, grow those areas. So as those come in, it'll be, ELT is collecting that information and will review and finalize how those dollars are done. And so it's with hope that our leadership is looking at the budget just not as a carryover from year over year, but rather what's needed. I can stop talking with my hands. What's needed? What's important? What have we been squirreling away that maybe we don't need year over year that can either be reallocated within a program, within a mission area, or maybe goes back to the greater good of the department to say, hey, here's where these dollars make the most sense as a department. And that's one of those things we're looking on working on growing is how do we view ourselves as a department? Not viewing ourselves as an individual, viewing ourselves as a program, viewing ourselves as a mission area, but reminding ourselves that we are all in this together. We are reliant on one another. And then also that eye to the strategic plan. So finalize, I think the ink is finally dry on what got delivered about a week and a half ago. And that's going to come with it prioritizations that are going to be advanced or priority strategies that are going to be advanced. And we have to ensure that the resources exist for them. Because an important piece here, and it was talked within that steering committee, is it's not work that's getting put on top of our existing work. It's a reprioritization saying this is what's important for us as a department and moving forward. So quick update in terms of where we are right now. So, one of the key pieces, again, is that first big dot was around clinical income. So the other pieces are more known, more allocated. But so what's important here is right now, what I want to focus on is the clinical margin is projected to be positive for this year. So a sliver is projected to exist visually, okay? So that helps us in terms of how we're going to allocate our dollars for the next fiscal year. And there's always unknowns related to this. And that's just what I wanted to highlight here. Some variables external to us. So on the negative side is, for example, CMS conversion factor was reduced at the start of this calendar year. So that negatively impacts all Medicare and Medicaid UPL supplemental payments to us. UCHA's funding support was flat relative to the primary care compensation plan. UCHA no longer is collecting copays in the clinic, for example. And there's an increase in no-shows and cancellations in our clinics. And then you just have things that happen naturally of, we think we had a COVID outbreak in one of our clinics that shut down operations for a bit. It's not all bad. So there's positives to this as well. So CU Anthem shared savings accrual increased, and the CU Medicine CPD clinic community practice division is above budget. And then there's we don't know which side of the fence it's fallen on yet. And that includes fund flows from the hospital, as well as just the volatility of the CU Med PCCP support. So just wanted to level set, again, just an understanding of what's coming in, how it goes out. We don't, we get affected by certain areas. We have control over certain areas. And I want us to be very purposeful in terms of how we're managing and proposing our budgets going into this year. So with that, let me turn it back to the room for any questions or thoughts. Yeah, here. Oh, thanks, Lisa.
Thank you for that. It was a great overview. Thank you for that. When you say CME, is that for both Medicaid and Medicare reduction? Are we facing a reduction in the conversion factor for both Medicaid and Medicare?
So transparency, I don't have that on my notes. So let me ask my experts if for input on that.
Venus knows right at my own table.
After I get the chip crunched in my mouth.
Well, that's cruel timing on the question.
It's a big thing, so.
Does impact both because of our parity payments. Hi. So we get flat payments for Medicare from primary care first, but then we get what they call parity payments from UPL that make up the difference between that flat E&M payment and the Medicare fee schedule. So when that Medicare fee schedule goes down, that goes down. And then also for our Medicaid patients, same thing. There are parity payments between the Medicaid fee schedule and the Medicare fee schedule. So when that goes down, that impacts both on our parity side. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay.
Thanks for asking, Linda. Anything online? And as all, we'll put this out as just a standing offer is whenever you guys do have questions related to this, email, call, walk on down. Always happy to take any questions or thoughts related to this. So thank you. Liz, turn over to you. All right. You know where your presentation is?
It's right on the desktop here.
Share the
Yeah, it's here. It's showing up here, just not there.
See what I can do. There we go.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be presenting to this group, and thanks, Liz, for coordinating. My name is Megan Lane, and I am the Director of Research Communications here on our campus. And I have kind of a unique role in that I work within the Central Office of Communications, but I also report to Dr. Tom Flagg, the Vice Chancellor for Research at the OVCR. And I act as the liaison between those two groups. So I'm here to kind of listen to find out more about the stories of research successes that are happening on our campus. I love the introduction there. It's like people just are so uninformed about the work that our team is doing. How do we get the word out about all the successes and incredible work that's happening in this group? That's where I'm here to help. And I hope that by the end of the day today, you'll have a much better sense of the different resources and channels and ways to share your stories, both through the campus communication channels and through some of the external channels that we're connected with as a campus. So I'm going to start just by kind of walking through all the different ways that our communications team tells stories and gets the word out about the work that's happening at CU Anschutz. Liz is a phenomenal resource, and she should be your first point of contact for any of these types of stories. I was on the hiring committee for Liz, and I can tell you guys, when she accepted the job, we were all so excited. You have a fantastic resource here on your team. But I will be partnering with Liz to kind of tap into all these resources that we have available through the central communications team. And I'm hoping that hearing about these channels might kind of prompt some ideas about new ways to talk about the work that you're doing and how to get it out there into the public. So the first one is the CU Anschutz Today newsletter and our CU Anschutz newsroom. The CU Anschutz Today newsletter goes out every week on Wednesday. Probably just hit your inboxes. Everybody should be on that distribution list. And we have a fantastic team of writers, a content team. We have a full-time science writer within our department their job is to find out about the different exciting things that are happening on our campus and write stories and push those out through our newsroom and through our email newsletter. That goes out to about 22,000 people. It used to be that most of those readers were people on our campus. We have worked really hard to expand that list to more of the external folks outside of our walls. And it's now about 60% people on our campus, 40% people in the community. And we often see that stories that we're writing in our newsroom are picked up by external media and then shared with journalists seeing their budgets have been cut so much, they're happy to take our content and republish it through their outlets. So we see a lot of these stories getting additional kind of amplification through other channels. We have things like Q&As, feature stories. Here's just a couple of examples. Sometimes we'll do stories about gift announcements, different research studies. We're always trying to kind of connect to what might be relevant and tangible to an external audience. So this is one of our kind of big channels. Oh, and 60,000 visitors to our newsroom each month. So that's a lot of people. We also have a social media team within the communications office. These are the CU Anschutz channels. There are a lot of other departments that kind of have their own respective channels, but I want to walk through these and talk about what kind of content seems to work for each of these. So our Facebook page has about 52K followers. You might have heard that the audience is now, Facebook is for old people. That's what my son tells me anyway. So it's definitely an older, I know I guess I'm in that older demographic now because that's my go-to platform. But we put a lot of our content out on Facebook. Instagram we find is more of kind of like the students tend to resonate with that content a little more. We do a lot of like campus types of shots and photos. We have LinkedIn is actually our fastest growing platform. We now have 38,000 followers on LinkedIn. That used to be kind of like, LinkedIn was kind of a networking platform. It is rapidly becoming more and more of a social media platform to share content and to share stories. It's not just about networking anymore. A lot of people have kind of fled Twitter and gone to LinkedIn. So we're seeing a lot more engagement through our LinkedIn stories. Reddit is a channel where we're able to get a lot of engagement with more of our technical type of research studies. Just show of hands, how many people are on Reddit? Anybody? Okay, great. So we see that this channel is where we're able to post research studies that maybe the media wouldn't be interested in because it's a little bit more technical. We get tons of exposure and engagement by sharing these stories through our science Reddit channel. And last but not least, Twitter. X. I need to swap out that icon. I just can't bring myself to do it. I know it's now X and not Twitter. There's been a lot of controversy around Twitter in recent months, but we find that it still continues to be a really good channel for us to engage with folks and to share out some of our different research stories. So those are just kind of examples of all the different channels that we have. And as we're sharing those stories through our newsroom, we're then resharing them through these different channels, depending on where we think we're going to get the most engagement or what audience is going to resonate most with those stories. Media relations. So I want to spend most of my time today talking about media relations. We have an incredible media team of 3 people who work very hard for what we call earned media in the communications world. Earned media are the stories that you are actively pitching to reporters and they agree to pick it up and publish your story. And our bread and butter for our media stories here on our campus continues to be our peer-reviewed research studies. But I'd say that there's a catch to that, and that's making sure that we find out about the research study before it's published. The news cycle is so fast these days that if we find out about it even like a day or 2 after it's published, media will typically tell us, oh, it's lost its newsworthiness. We're no longer interested. I know. So as soon as you find out, if you are working on a peer-reviewed paper or publication, when you find out that it's accepted, please reach out to Liz and let her know. Even if there's still an embargo in place, we always honor embargoes. We come up with an embargoed media strategy. We'd like to start working with you to get quotes to kind of distill down the information to something that kind of will resonate with the public. And that way, as soon as your study is publishing, we can be hitting the send button on our press release so that those are going out at the same time. And it's really helping to amplify the work that you're doing and the publications that you have. Research with a news peg is another area where we get a lot of traction and we get a lot of exposure for our faculty here on campus. For example, one of our cardiologists did a story about Damar Hamlin after the incident during the football game and talked about sudden cardiac arrest in young athletes. That story did better for us than that was our top expert story, got more hits and clicks and impressions than any other news story we'd done. And it positioned our faculty as the expert in this topic that was really trending and relevant to the public. So anytime you're working on something that might have that kind of what we call a news peg, things around the opioid epidemic, things around mental health crisis, things that are trending in the news, if you have a story idea around that, reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you and maybe pitch you to the media. Community impact or patient stories tend to do really well in the media. And then the reverse of that, earned media, where we're pitching stories, same problem. Media are also always coming to us. We get dozens of media requests every week on all sorts of topics, and they're looking for experts to weigh in for the stories that they're working on. It's a great opportunity to, again, position our faculty as the experts, get the word out about CU Anschutz. Time is of the essence. Oftentimes, those interview requests are like 24-hour turnaround or even shorter. They're on deadline. They're trying to get their stories out. But we'd love to hear from you if there's an area of expertise where you might be a great kind of future source for a media story. We'd love to know about that so that we can be pitching you when we get these requests from the media. This is just an example of a story that we did with someone from our epidemiology department that got picked up in the Scientific American. Just last month, we were on the Today Show with a story about a study about back pain. We get hits in CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, but I know that I'm still only hearing about like 10% of what's happening on this campus. So hopefully after today, I'll be flooding my inbox with all of your ideas of ways that we can kind of help to share the work that you're doing. And just a note, if you are ever contacted by the press, please be sure to loop in our media relations team. They always like to just be in the know, and they also can help to prep you. They offer a media training if that's something that's of interest. So show of hands, who has heard of The Conversation? Okay, just a few folks. I hadn't heard of this before I started at CU Anschutz, and this has become one of the most fruitful channels for getting our faculty in the news and helping them to be part of the national conversation. So this is a nonprofit news entity that has a team of editors. They partner with academics, researchers, to write original stories that they then push out to news outlets, to Apple News, to Yahoo News, to the Associated Press. But the great thing about it that makes it a little bit unique is the academic is the one that's pitching the editor. They have a story idea, they come to them, the editor can say yes or no. I'd say they say yes to about 50 to 60% of the pitches that we've sent to them. And then you actually get to be the author and write the story with the editor. So you have total control over the content. These editors are fantastic at kind of helping academics to make their stories more accessible to a lay audience. And then they push those stories out through all of their channels. So we've had a lot of success with this over the last 2 years. Just last year, almost 1 million conversation article reads by stories that were authored by our faculty. We reached 150 countries with the stories that were published through the conversation. And I could see so many, just in this room, I'm sure, what so many different ways that you could pitch the conversation and kind of highlight your area of expertise and put it out there in the media. So here's just one example. We had one about chronic back pain. I think we have one running today about, it's some Valentine's Day one by one of our like psychiatry relationship experts. But it's a way that we even had one from the RNA Biosciences Initiative, which that's a really kind of technical, basic science type of team. They accepted a pitch from him about our RNA zip codes and how our body delivers information to different zip codes in the body. So he made something very technical, very accessible to a lay audience. And it was a great way to kind of get his name out there. And we even have data kind of to back up that people who are published in the conversation can lead to new research collaborations, funding opportunities, media requests, boosted citations. So there are a lot of benefits for the researchers who take the time to write these articles as well. I'll send out this presentation. It has a link with more information in the pitch form. We're happy to help coordinate on a pitch if you have an idea in mind for the conversation. So those are kind of the overview of the channels that we have available through the communications office. I just wanted to flag 2 more kind of areas of resources that we have. The first one is our branding and templates library. So this is available on the CU website. We have everything from email templates to headers to research poster boards that are branded as CU Anschutz. So we make it really easy. Most of these are through Canva. If you're familiar with Canva, it's kind of like a design for dummies sort of a platform where it creates these beautiful designs that are all branded appropriately for CU Anschutz, but makes it really easy for you to utilize them. So encourage you to take advantage of those templates if you haven't already. There's a great PowerPoint template too for CU Anschutz. And I wanted to include this one, even though this does not fall under my area of expertise, but the Office of the Vice Chancellor for Research has a new research recruitment program director who is fantastic. They're putting a ton of additional resources for those of you who are looking to recruit for your studies. We helped them with a social media pilot, so they're now able to do social media advertising to help recruit subjects for studies. So if this is something that would be helpful to you, I encourage you to go to their website. There's forms you can fill out if you're interested in learning more. They do consultation sessions. They do quarterly workshops. So a lot of new resources available for those who have the joy of trying to fill their studies with enough subjects, which I know is always a challenge. Okay, and before I wrap up here, I gave this presentation early on after starting at CU, and one of the faculty members who has become quite dear to me came up to me afterwards, like, why do I care about brand? I'm a scientist, and why should this matter to me? How does this affect my day-to-day work? And it was such a fair question. And so I feel the need to just kind of give a quick overview of why this matters for people like you, who are doing fantastic work, but why align with the CU Anschutz brand? Why take the extra step to push it out to an external audience? And I would say that perception matters tremendously when it comes to the research that we do and the work that we do and how people view CU Anschutz as a whole. There was a researcher who recently told me, excuse me, he came from Dartmouth and he said, it was just so much easier in Dartmouth to get people to return my calls to get funding because it's Dartmouth and people recognize Dartmouth. Well, my goal and my job is to try to get CU Anschutz on par with some of those big institutions that have that brand name recognition. And so my hope is that with your help and through these channels I've outlined, that we'll be able to really elevate the brand of CU Anschutz, because what we're doing at this campus is incredible. There just isn't the awareness level that some of these other institutions have. So I hope that you'll reach out, share the, help utilize these resources and share the different things that you're working on so that we can really help to elevate that CU Anschutz campus brand, which will help you with things like funding grants, recruitment retention, boosting the reputation of our schools and hospitals. These are really important things that kind of benefit all of us collectively. And hopefully you saw, this is a poster from our brand campaign. Hopefully you saw some of the ads running on the TVs as you were coming in here. That was another big part of our team's work last year, was to create the CU Anschutz branding campaign, which has been running on throughout local media over the past year. So that's all I had for my slides, but would love to take any questions that you might have. Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm wondering what you can teach us about the way the campus is viewed right now by people across Colorado. What's your starting point? The image they have of us now is X, and you'd like to see it be Y.
Yes. So we actually do focus groups to measure brand awareness, and it starts with, have you ever heard of CU Anschutz? And I'm really proud the growth we've seen in just that question, the number of people in Colorado who even know who we are. It wasn't great when we started, our communications team started 5 years ago. And I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but I believe it was over 80% after the last survey that we did. I'll have to double check that number though. And then we ask more questions about positive and negative perceptions. I think starting off, it was so new because as a campus, you know, we were all kind of these separate entities all over the state, all over Denver for so long. It wasn't until 15, 20 years ago that we became CU Anschutz, whereas a Johns Hopkins or they have decades and decades of that history. So even just getting people to identify as part of CU Anschutz, that's kind of like a huge first step. But we've been growing that brand awareness. We track it. It's kind of our team's, that's kind of our true north, is how many people know who we are and do they view us positively or negatively. So we've seen great growth in that. Still a lot of work to do. It was overall positive. It was neutral when we started. It was kind of we don't know. It was, 50% of people had never heard of us. And now it skews positive. Yes.
Hi, I'm Myra Marmota. I'm the department chair. Are there sub segments of that audience across Colorado that have more or less awareness of us, or more or less positive or negative impressions of who we are?
I would have to take a look at our last report to answer that question. So I don't want to answer because I can't speak to that. We do track it. I will just say, kind of from an audience perspective, for my communications planning efforts, I look at what I call kind of the scientific influencers, the business and community leaders. Those are the people that I want to reach with our messages, because a lot of people just, they won't care regardless, and you won't be able to really move the needle. So we're focused mostly on a Colorado audience, but we're also starting to try to do more and more to reach folks on the coasts and those who are kind of the decision makers and the funders. We're doing more and more targeted communications to try to reach those demographics. It's a lot harder and a lot more expensive to reach those folks. That's why the earned media, where we're getting those for free, if we pitch a story and they accept it, they're reaching those demographics, and we're not having to pay any advertising dollars to get to them.
Hi, I was wondering, are you finding any sort of conflict or confusion with another brand that's very similar to this brand, CU Medicine? It just would be natural to
Yes.
have medicine in that brand name. CU Anschutz is very specific
Right.
versus, yes.
No, that's a great question. So we partner very closely with the CU School of Medicine, and they are part of the umbrella CU Anschutz brand. The research stories that I work on encompass School of Public Health, School of Pharmacy, some nursing. So I kind of cover all of those different schools and institutes that fall under the CU Anschutz brand. But CU Medicine is, I think, 80% or something of that. It's a huge piece of that pie. So they are pushing out a lot of research stories as well. We actually share newsroom content and collaborate really closely. So if you look at our newsroom, will have CU Medicine stories. Their newsroom will have CU Anschutz stories. They also have a really fantastic communications team in place. So we work with them really closely. But yes, it is confusing. Took me a year to figure out who was who when I first started here. Great.
How much advertising do you do out at DIA? And the reason I ask is because we're going to be moving to in-person interviews come October. And I think that would be nice for applicants to see as they walk the airport there.
Yes, that's a great question. This campaign had a heavy presence at DIA. You won't see it as much now because we do it in these sprints around times when we think they're going to be the most impactful. We time it around certain events where we feel like we're going to capture the greatest segment of our audience. So you won't see this as much in the media now, but did anyone see this over the summer? Or does this look familiar? The Possibilities Endless campaign? Hopefully a few folks saw that, the ad spots that we ran. It was really well done, and we'll be doing another round, an updated version of that campaign later this year. Let me know when those interviews are, and I'll see what the timing of. Okay, actually, I think it will be back. I think we will be back in market at that time, and we should have a presence at DIA. We hire an outside agency to assist us with this, and it's always a lot of fun and really challenging to figure out how do we boil down all the amazing things that we do to a 30-second commercial spot, and in some cases like a 15 or 10-second commercial spot. And if you haven't seen it, they absolutely nailed it. It was really well done. Well, I'll turn it over to Liz, but I hope that.
We actually have a couple questions online. I'm
Oh,
gonna ask
great, go
both
ahead.
of you now.
Yeah.
So we have a couple questions online. What stories do you wish you were publishing about family medicine specifically?
It's a great question. So this is always kind of the challenge. When you go to our content meetings, it's always fun to hear the whole range of different story ideas that come out. And I think I often try to be the voice of the underrepresented stories in those meetings, because there are some faculty that are just, they're front and center, and we have great relationships with them. But I think I want to hear those stories that we aren't telling but should be. I don't know what those are. I would defer to Department of Family Medicine faculty to tell me what those might be. Any peer-reviewed research you're doing, that upcoming publications, anything that shows how we as an institution are unique, or that if we're the first or the best, or we're doing something that no one else is doing in the country, that's the story that I want to be telling. So anything you're doing that might be, maybe you're the first to study this particular issue, or you're going to be furthering this area of research in a really unique or exciting way, reach out and let me know. And the answer sometimes might be, oh, that's not really the right story to tell through these channels. We'll do maybe we can do a social post about it. Not every story will be a full newsroom story or media pitch, but a lot of them will be, and almost always peer-reviewed research will be.
Thank you so much. I will move on to our next one. Is there currently a process in place to identify publications from CU researchers before they're in print, or is it up to individuals to reach out and let communications know?
I wish there was a better process. The process now is me going to these meetings and begging for the heads up. So, which I know is not the most ideal process. So no, we usually, the only way to find out is by researchers reaching out to let us know.
Thank you for that context. Could you clarify maybe a little bit, what is the audience or interest for stories, for research and stories about continuity, community, and primary care, in contrast to dramatic saves, individualistic stories, or subspecialist care?
So I think it depends. If you can find the angle that resonates with a big audience, I would say it doesn't matter. Sometimes it might be a trade publication that focuses on a particular specialty. So I think if you can find that angle or that news hook, whether it's an awareness day or I know it sounds silly, but some of our best performing content is when there's a celebrity diagnosis and we have an expert in that particular condition and we write a story about it. I know that seems so trivial but it's again an opportunity to position our faculty as the experts in this area and get the word out about CU Anschutz. So I think it kind of depends on what the angle might be.
Thank you. The final question that we have online is, do you have any sense of how much departments that run their own CME conference every year benefit from that exposure?
That is not something we track, but I will say that conferences are an area, they tend to come up in a lot of these presentations that I give as an opportunity and a way to, how can we capitalize on those to further amplify our brand? So I don't track that, but I think it's something worth exploring. Yeah. Any other questions? Great. So please be thinking about story ideas, media pitches, upcoming publications. Connect with Liz, connect with me. We would love to change that, shift that paradigm and make sure that people know what your department does, what they do, so you can get the word out to a broader external audience. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. I know that you've had a lot of content thrown at you today, and I'm going to throw some more. But you know that I am a continual resource, so please feel free to reach out to me in future. I just wanted to make sure that you got to hear from me about some of our internal resources. So let me just get that up for us. I think it's working now. Great. So just a couple of housekeeping notes because I know that I will be running up against time. Thank you all for being here today. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded so that you can reference this content again in future. And then please make sure to complete the survey that's in front of you or it's been posted for everyone online. Thank you so much for joining us today. I also just wanted to do a quick call out on behalf of Robert Thompson, who has been sending you emails about our awards process. Please be sure to submit your award nominations. The deadline is March 1st. The link is available online. It has been in every DFM weekly update. So we'll make sure to continue to post that, but please also make sure to include your name and then also just nominee information when you're putting that in and together. So I'm just going to talk to you for just a minute about DFM communications resources. Hopefully we'll have time at the end for questions. If not, I'm here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm always on email, so just let me know. So there we go. I don't know why this isn't working for our Zoom audience. What am I doing wrong, Oliver? Bear with. Thank you.
Why are they not seeing? Let's see.
Yep. So for anybody who hasn't met me, I started in October. I am taking over for the incomparable Robert Thompson. I just want to assure you that communications is here for you. As Megan said, we want to continue to be a resource and basically from here forward, just continue to elevate the position of the Department of Family Medicine as much as possible. So basically, reaching out to me, we can do so much for you. We can share your news and publications both on our normal website as well as through CU Communications. We can update the web pages that we have through the DFM website online, and we can create new ones for you if you need different, resources and repositories. We can help create visual content, including templates, graphics, photos, logos, and videos. We have done all of these fairly recently, and I think I have nagged most of you in this room about that, so you should be fairly familiar with it. And then we can also, as Megan shared, guide you to CU resources. The functions of our team, the overarching things that we are doing. Why is this? just click. I promise I'm doing my best.
One moment, please.
So I can use this now. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. So key functions, as I mentioned before, updates and newsletters. We have a Friday communication that goes out every week. Why is this important to you all? We want to hear what it is you're doing. Everything that you send to me, I post as a, newsroom piece on our website. I put into our different, updates and newsletters. We want to be able to communicate out to our department, but also communicate out CU wide. So as I continue to get this information, I will continue to funnel it as necessary. Please read those things as well. Celebrate your colleagues. It's important to also know what everyone within the department is doing. It's also a great resource for meetings such as this, for the registrations for, showing up in person, for your Zoom links, and also making sure that you're aware of where our web content lives, whether it's on our public facing website, which I'll get to in a minute, or our intranet, which I'll also get to in a minute. So our DFM website, the URL is up here in the right-hand corner. This is our public face of our community. We have thousands of visitors. I work with multiple members within our department to even track our analytics and also our web accessibilities to make sure that it is, the most accessible content that we can get out to our incoming fellows, to, anybody interested in any part of the department. So you can help me with this by making sure that you take a look at pages you frequent. Let me know if any of the content that has to do with your, mission area specifically is potentially out of date. I can make that update for you very quickly. Make sure that you're aware of the layout and the content so you can also very freely share, because while I am the communications person, as is Robert, there are only two of us. Communications is a group effort. We want to make sure that everybody is, semi-fluent in these resources. You can share news from our newsroom, and you can also link our website in your email signature. The way that you can do that is actually featured on our intranet, which I'll get to in a second. And I also want to just say that we're going to soon be transitioning our newsroom to the CU system HubSpot, which will also make it easier for cross-departmental sharing of our news stories as well. So get me your news. We'll be posting it on there. It can be, shared prolifically. So when it comes to the intranet, you'll have seen some links about this. This is our internal facing saving resource, basically, for everything within our department. There are too many places to save things. Everybody seems to have their own unique system. This is kind of a funnel down resource where you can find information regarding communications best practices and resources, human resources, clinical care, DEI. Every time something comes in, I make updates here as well. It does require a login, but once you're in, you should be in. You'll have to request permission initially, and then I will, grant that to you as soon as I see it. Please remember that there is a human being approving it, so it might take me a second. But we're going to be there. This is a repository of photos that we've been taking throughout the year, so we can rely less heavily on stock imagery. There's logos, some of our templates for letterhead, for PowerPoint presentations that have been adapted to be DFM specific. And then even with the emergence of our new strategic plan, there are Zoom backgrounds that you can use that showcase our mission and vision, which I'll also be rolling out more overtly in some of our emails. They just got finalized this week. So it's a wealth of information that you can access, whenever you would like. It will also be built out with more of our strategic planning content, with an admin site that will link to specific trainings that are helpful internally. If you ever have suggestions for anything that to be added, please feel free to just let me know. I would love to do that for you. And it's also just a very easy means to streamline our, practices. The intranet specifically, you don't have to remember a URL. It is linked from our homepage on our main DFM public facing website. As I said, it requires the login. So, some interested parties are not able to get in. So moving forward for some of our key functions, meetings and lectures, your communications people, along with other DFM partners, schedule meetings just like this one and like our Levitt lectures. We are operating in increasingly virtual environments, and so transparency really is key. These opportunities to get together, chat over lunch, or even, over comments like in Zoom, really increase our departmental know-how and knowledge. So please make sure to keep an eye on your emails for any of the updates that I send, whether it comes to registration for here, the Zoom links for, attending, our newsletters for CU broad, event opportunities and the like. You can also see our Levitt series, which we have an upcoming one in April, and I'm very excited to share that with, different registration information to also share with your outside networks so that we can become increasingly visible outside of CU. And then just a little update on what we anticipate happening next within the department and within my role. We would like to be able to expand our reach outside of DFM, even outside of CU. We would like to have consistent alumni and community messaging. We would like to enact an annual departmental report. I know that individual mission areas do their own, and then we would like to synthesize that together. We'll be working on some education when it comes to philanthropy. And then we will also make sure that we are talking openly and often about the strategic plan, since this is our guide moving forward. So finally, just some upcoming meetings and lectures. Again, you'll see these in your inbox. Next month, Myra and Michael will be doing a strategic planning update for us. In April, we will have a Levitt lecture with Susan McDaniel. And then in May, we will have a professional development monthly meeting where you can learn about everything that's available through the CU system. So I know, again, that's a lot of stuff thrown at you. Please know that I continue to be here to clarify as needed. And I just want to welcome any questions in person and online. Also, if you don't have any, I'm happy to give you found time. Okay.
Do we have questions?
Any questions, folks? Looks like we don't have any. So I'm going to turn it over to Myra to close us down.
I also thank you both, Megan and Liz, for a great presentation. I learned a lot. I didn't know a lot of these resources existed, and hopefully that will help us change that what we discovered through strategic planning, that a lot of people don't know what we're really doing, and it's great stuff. So I noticed she sort of snuck in after we started, and so I wanted to introduce Dr. Colette Robinson. I'm gonna sit up and wait. She is joining our department as the inaugural director of the Aurora Wellness Community Clinic, which I think you've heard various things about it from the dean, but family medicine is responsible for standing up that clinic, and we're fortunate to recruit Colette to be our inaugural medical director. And she graduated from the residency at my old place, so I knew her when she was just. So thanks, everybody.